Hello and welcome to Gaming Knuckleheads Talk. In tonight's gaming news brief, everybody is so pissed off about the partner direct not featuring main series Nintendo stuff because it was a partner direct that they are now once again stoking the misinformation mill, claiming that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct this month proper. Never mind the fact that Nintendo has never once deviated from their schedule. So we'll see if we'll be doing another direct discussion this month or not. But unless we're proven wrong, they can more or less. You guys can more or less count on waiting until June. It's June, right? Not July?
June, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So our first topic for tonight, and I really pulled out all the stops in order to bring this topic to the table. I literally overspent extra money these past couple of months to rebuy Sonic Superstars, to rebuy Sonic Colors Ultimate, to stack them up to other games that I've either liked, hated, or liked, but have found frustrating with some of the genuinely challenging difficulty. And what I'm going to say before I share my opinions and get all ranty and then open up the floor is, under no circumstances are we condoning a review bombing by reviewing a game you've never played, be it a positive bombing or a negative one. Never review a game unless you have picked it up and held it in your hands and stuck it in your system and picked up the controller and played it. That being said, most people like to say when you review a game, you should always play the game to completion. But usually if you're going to give a game a bad review, it's because you didn't complete it. And that is the question of the night. When is it justifiable to give a game a bad review? And yes, it is completely justifiable. Let's start off with Superstars as a case study. An attempt at making Sonic into multiplayer. And here's a challenge for all of you watching. Pick up a Sega Genesis or just pick up any legitimate way to play Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Hand a controller to another player. Play through the game with two players. Not player 2 sits there and waits for the boss fight or giving Sonic an airlift. Actually have Sonic match Tails pace per pace and beat every stage before the 10-minute time limit kicks in and you time over. If you cannot do that, not only does that prove that Sonic Superstars was not meant to, that Sonic in general was not meant to be multiplayer in the main campaign, but that it also lends credence to the massive criticism of the boss battles. But let's look at Press Factory, for example. Act 2, you know why I'm not asking you to help me beat it? Because you're my friend and I care not enough not to give you a massive panic attack with how that stage works. Like that stage, badly designed with a gimmick that would normally work in the right circumstances, but in the case of Press Factory, would give anybody with any sort of stress or anxiety disorder a massive panic attack. At Press Factory Act 2, I was like, my initial thoughts stand. Why should I bother finishing the game to state what I already know? It's a bad game. It just doesn't work. It has little to no replay value. Like, if you play the game to completion, but you don't get all 7 Chaos Emeralds, but you want them, just go back into specific stages and grab them, and then shelve the game and let it collect dust or sell it for credit. But, like, the multiplayer is bland and boring compared to, say, party mode. But there's not much you can, but to unlock all the unlockables, you have to keep playing the game over and over and over, and there's just no replay value in the main story. It's not bad. So people can't say, well, you only got as far as Spectre as 2, so you're not reliable enough to give a full review of the game. I've played enough of the game to know that even if you want to give it an honest chance, it is not worth $60. Sega overcharged me. Let's look at Sonic Colors. Asteroid Coaster Act 2 is the gimmicks get to the worst possible. I got severe wrist pain just trying to clear that. Now, for about an hour and a half, I was in so much pain, I threw my Switch onto the bed screaming in pain. My neighbors didn't call the cops. I dealt with that one. But Sonic Colors is a step up. I can safely say, even though I only made it to the second to last area of the game, that it is a bad game, but unlike Sonic Superstars, which would need to be completely rebuilt from the ground up, the original Wii version of which it's based on would have had potential if they had axed the gimmicks and made it more like 3D platforming aspects of Generations, you know? And I was ready to give Mario vs. Donkey Kong a good review with the ability to freeze the timer, which is pretty much mandatory to complete the game. But when I got to Twilight City yesterday and discovered that one of the puzzles in Twilight City has such precision timing that it would be nearly impossible to clear that puzzle. But with puzzle number 3 being practical, puzzle number 3 literally requires you to hack your system or utilize cheats because you have to desync the movement of one of the robots. But all 3 robots on the stage move in the same direction, and there's no way to desync them legitimately, meaning the puzzle is incompletable by legitimate methods. At that point, I was like, it's improved over the Game Boy Advance original, but only hardcore fans should invest, you know? I enjoyed what I got through up to Twilight City. And when I came back with a clear head, I came this close to actually perfecting the World 7 boss. He had 1 health left. Mine was still marked at 4. I was like, ooh, I'm going to do this. And then I was like, ooh, I'm going to do this. I got careless.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's like... So yeah, I feel personally, as long as you've actually played the game to some degree, if you have such a bad time, or if you can spot flaws and problems that everyone else is going to harp on and say this is a bad game, you're just as justifiable in saying it's a bad game, just like you'd be justifiable in saying it's a good game. Like, I never played Super Mario RPG to completion back in the day, mostly because Croco annoyed me, and I was surprised when I actually didn't have trouble with him in the remake. But it's still a very fun, very enjoyable game. I'm still working my way through the remake, but it is a top-tier game. And even though we did get Paper Mario out of the split between Square and Nintendo not wanting to work together on RPG 2, it's a damn shame that we didn't get RPG 2 because, I mean, the 90s were the golden era of Nintendo. Yeah. Anyway, what are your 2 thoughts on reviews, gaming reviews, based off a level of completion?
Well, I personally am in the area with the U-Gear. For me, if you're going to review a game, you should buy it, and at the very least, if not completed, at least put in at least, I don't know, a relatively good amount of hours into it.
Yeah.
I'm
for examples I gave, I was very close to the end of each one. So, but go ahead, Matt.
I think that you should definitely buy the game before you. I mean, buy and play the game at least. I'd say,
Yeah.
not necessarily to completion, but so that uh, get a general feel of the game, how it's supposed to work before you give it any sort of judgment.
Yeah, because my friend recommended a game to me called Crosscode.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to play it. It looked like fun. The opening cutscene was amazing, but there was this one tutorial puzzle that I was having trouble solving. It's not that it was too hard. It was just that the way that the game's controls are mapped on the Switch. Here are the only buttons that are used in the whole game. Plus button to bring up the menu. A button to skip through dialogue. The rest of the game only uses the analog stick and or D-pad on the left side of your system or controller, and the Z triggers and the LR buttons.
Mm-hmm.
I had to hold my Switch Lite in a way that was so cramped up I couldn't solve the puzzle because I was getting an extremely bad. You see the way I'm bending my wrist?
Mm-hmm.
If you guys can handle a little bit of graphic mental imagery, imagine it's bending back all the way, like double jointed, but actually your wrist breaking. That's what it felt like my wrist was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even bother to review Crosscode, even though I still technically own the game because it's digital exclusive and it's always going to be in my digital library, and I'll have access to it until the Switch eShop shuts down in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked like it was going to be a fun game, but because I didn't get enough of a feel of it and I didn't really get to experience the game outside of some basic puzzle solving in the tutorial and a pretty badass opening cutscene,
Mm-hmm.
like I was all set to give this game my full attention and see if it was good for it. So it's actually have either of you heard of a developer called I think it's Chucklefish? They're a German developer. That's all I know.
Yeah, I think they made
Yeah.
Wardrobe or something.
Yeah, I think it's Chucklefish. It might be something else with either Chuckle or Fish in the name, but it was a German company that made this game, and they're an indie studio, and they've made other stuff as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yeah, Wardrobe is also by Chucklefish, which is like Advanced Wars.
Yeah, let me check. Let me check Crosscode on Wikipedia really quick. It's the show where we're always on Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, Radical Fish Games. I knew it had fish in the name. Crosscode was developed by Radical Fish and published by a company called Deck 13.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like it looked like a really fun game. Like if they had a different control scheme, I'm sure I'd be telling a different story right now. But again,
it's probably easier with keyboard and mouse. I bet that's what it was originally made for.
Yeah, because the Crosscode appearing on the Switch was a port,
Mm-hmm.
And I got it on sale for like $1. It was like one of those it was like back in December. It was one of those massive indie game Switch sales where like sometimes Nintendo like drops indie game prices down to like up to $2 max.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up with the price tag. I ended up having enough gold coins in my My Nintendo account that I was able to get to cover the entire game without paying a penny out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it cost me some digital currency, but still. But yeah, so it's like, but yeah, I mean, flipping back around, like, if you get a good enough feel of the game that you can determine whether you feel it's good or bad, knock yourself out, give the review. But as we said at the beginning, and because we're getting ready to wrap up this topic and move on, we cannot stress this enough. Review bombing is bad. As far as I'm concerned, Metacritic needs to use one of those verification selfie video or copy the pose type systems like dating apps use to have somebody actually show a picture of them holding up their system showing the game running on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a console like PlayStation or Xbox, get some help. Stand in front of the TV or stand next to the TV.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to nip review bombing in the bud, aggregator sites need to start demanding proof that the reviewers have at the very least played the game. Minimum played the game. Yeah. It's like, because like review bombing did not cause Pokemon to say, oh, we're actually breaking our pattern and not releasing a new game right away. And and again, like I said in the direct discussion video that I made, before anyone gets on my ass about Legends' main series, it doesn't matter whether you consider it main series or spinoff. It's not coming out till next year to begin with. So the fact that there's going to be no new Pokemon in 2024 still stands.
Yeah.
Review bombing did not help that. It was literally every single fuck up. I mean, I told you guys what happened with the Indigo Disc, right?
Yeah, you did.
They patched that and fixed it by changing the TM crafting recipe, but it was at that point that they realized, and I still think they did it on purpose because they knew that Shieldon was a Violet exclusive, you know? But they realized, oh my God, we're not giving these games enough development time. It was literally that massive TM can only be crafted in one version of the game fuck up that led them to realize they need to adopt a new strategy in building the games. But of course, all the review bombers are going to take credit if the next generation Pokemon games turn out to be better than ever, you know? They're going to take the credit where it ain't due. And speaking of Pokemon, for once, we're actually not going to be taking the piss out on them because we actually get to talk positive for once because Brent is leading us in sermon remake quality. Should they be as faithful to the original as possible? Should they be something completely new? Or should they have a seamless blend of both?
Yeah, exactly what I was going to be bringing into Gear, because the way it is with remakes is that they seem to fall into one of three categories. Either one, they are basically the same original game you had, but with a graphic update and a new system. Two, there's something like, say, with like I think the best way to say would be Final Fantasy's remake, where it's it's the old game, but they've updated with like not only the graphics, but also like they're using more of the combat systems that were used in the like newer released Final Fantasy games. They're making certain changes to certain areas. I haven't played the game, so I don't know the full stories behind it. Or three, they stay like they are mixed in the ways where they like stay faithful to the original, like say with Super Mario RPG, but add a few new things to there, like a few new things to the combat and sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So the bigger question is, which do you guys think is the better way to go about it?
Hold on. He's thinking. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. Also, Kane, get your ass in on this remake discussion and weigh in on what Brent just discussed. But I think that a remake should be reflective of the original. It doesn't have to be a direct one-for-one remake where there's like no new content. Like new content is nice. Like again, going back to saying we actually get to say something nice about Pokemon for once. Everybody loved Gold, Silver, and Crystal when they came out way back in at the dawn of the 21st century.
Yeah.
But you know what people love even more? Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They find it better than the original Gold and Silver. The Pokathlon, replacing Crystal's Battle Tower, which was completely inaccessible due to you needing a Japanese exclusive mobile thing on the Game Boy. Or it was that mobile connection thingy between your phone and your Game Boy, basically. You know?
Yeah, I know.
You know, with dumb down. And why did they cut down the facilities, the number of facilities, when the DS was more powerful hardware than the Game Boy Advance? Mystery for another day. And even though they didn't really put yellow content into the red and blue remakes per se in Fire Red Leaf Green, Crystal exclusive content was brought in. You could take photos with gym leaders. You could rematch the gym leaders by collecting their Pokegear numbers. They did, and they even did so much. Speaking of the Pokegear, they improved upon the limited storage capacity by saying every registerable trainer will now fit in your Pokegear. No need to delete anybody's numbers. Like it was a direct remake of the original Gen 2 games, but they put so much extra content in that is, regardless of the game, what a remake should be, in my opinion. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that it was bare minimum with Super Mario RPG, and that with the exception of like 3D Culex is a secret boss and like the name changes. That really the only major new content, all in all, was just like like the trio attacks. But let's face it. Let's face it. They didn't get the full censorship bug taken onto them because they brought back the vibrator. If that's not the best cutscene in Mario history, I don't know what is. And yes, I don't care what anybody theorizes in the chat or the comments. That attendant was way too quick to dismiss it because she knew damn well we found the princess's vibrator.
Uh-huh.
Never mind the fact that it's Daisy who needs the vibrator. That's right. We brought the Daisy bullying here. Eventually, that running joke is going to get old to the point where we get tired of it, or people are going to hunt us down. But we'll see how long we can last. But yeah. Anyway, remake quality, Matt.
Well, I think if they're going to do a remake, like some of the things that they need to do is it's just like primarily, I mean, it depends on who the audience they're targeting. You know, if it's new players, then they should make more quality of life features. But if it's older, or not older players, but I should say more veteran players, then they should just leave it like have it be like a skin like the Super Metroid, the Metroid Prime remake or like the Tomb Raider remake, you know?
Yeah. No over-the-top ridiculous censorship. Take notes, Atlas. Yeah, I heard about the massive censorship changes in Reload. It's like, why are you changing your own country's culture just to appease a mob of angry people who don't play video games to begin with? Ignoring cultural norms from a business perspective, like how I constantly say that Miyamoto needs to be fired for the betterment of Nintendo, despite the fact that Japanese traditions in their business cultures say that a person in his position of power cannot be fired for any reason. It's like, I can understand foregoing your own country's culture if it's beneficial for a business you're trying to run worldwide. But just to appease an angry mob of people who don't like some of the visual content in the game, it's like, I don't think that like the skimpy outfits and Fatal Frame should be censored. I just think this isn't some happy-go-lucky anime game or JRPG. It's a horror survival game. I'm not interested in half-naked anime women in a horror survival game. I'm interested in the chilling, spooky atmosphere. But that sort of thing is a part of Japanese culture, so it's going to be there. Yet people want the alternate costumes censored out of Fatal Frame, you know? Atlas needs to take a page from Tecmo Koei and just be like, hey, we're keeping it as close to what the fans want, and if the newcomers don't like it, oh well, you know? I mean, Persona 3 changed what the game was. The first three games, if you count Eternal Punishment and Innocent Sin as two completely separate games rather than the same game told from two different perspectives, that was basically Megami Tensei dungeon crawling. Moving around a big map, going to different locations like you do in mainline Megami Tensei and some of the other side games, you know? Persona 3 was what made the games what they are now. The social links aspect, the single dungeon that changes as you go back and you can't return to the older dungeons. With the exception of Tartarus, of course, you know. Like you can still hit the lower floors of Tartarus on your way up. Well, like Persona 4, once you rescue somebody from the Midnight Channel, you can never go back in. Once you clear somebody's palace in Persona 5, any personas that are exclusive to that palace, you ain't recruiting them anymore. But it didn't used to be like that back in the days of Persona 1 and 2. Personally, I like the direction that Persona 3 took with making it differentiating it from main series Megami Tensei. So I like that, it's the standard going forward, but still, the oldest Persona fans are going to be your first adopters. So it's like they want to take like Persona 4 and be like Persona 4 Rerun, for example. And yes, because it's the Midnight Channel, I can imagine it being called Rerun. Reload, you're reloading your evoker. Rerun, you're going back to the Midnight Channel, But don't make the massive censorship to Persona 4 if you're going to do like a full-on remake of it like you did Persona 3, It's just going to make people want to gravitate towards the original version of the game. Like if I had access to anything besides a crappy PC, and I say crappy only because gaming laptop is an oxymoron. If I actually had access to something that could play games without overheating, or like access to like say current generation Xbox or PlayStation, I might actually consider picking up Reload, even though I already have P3P on my Switch. Not because I support the censorship, but because I support the game. And I played the original. It's fun. I haven't completed it myself, but I've watched people do more in-depth playthroughs, including somebody currently sitting in our chat section saying, But the point is, like, yeah. I heard about Atlas trying to appease the West. Why? Yeah. Anyway, what remakes do you guys think in the past few years have been good, and which ones leave something to be desired? And bear in mind, we're going to leave actual like ports out of it. Like if it's just like a straight up port, like the Mario 3D All Stars, you can leave that off the list. Like the game actually has to be an actual remake, like graphics, sound, etc.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you can go first, Brent.
Well, RPG is definitely one of the good remakes. No question there.
Yeah.
In terms of more to be desired, I'm not 100% certain because I haven't played that many remakes, truth be told.
I'll say what everybody's thinking. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl.
I wasn't thinking that.
Very fair. Very fair.
How much modern Pokemon do you play, Matt?
None.
That's why you weren't thinking it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get paid to do reviews for a living. I would have no choice but to buy Pokemon games, even if they were bad. People wouldn't get to say, well, now you're just supporting a shitty company. How the hell else am I going to get my paycheck? Yeah. Well, on the bright side, it's a good thing that I don't do reviews for a living right now, because it would pretty much be like, well, I'm going to have to buy just about every game under the sun, even if it's one I actually am not interested in. Yep. Yeah, in terms of, I'm definitely got to say that for me, RPG, like Brent said, definitely up there. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl could have been better, but we all know the story because Giriam read those comments that Ilka left when they were on that Yelp style site for employers reviewing their employees over in Japan. Masuda forced them to sabotage the game, more or less. That's how you make your whole Game Freak Exposed video or stream. use that video as a reference point. Look at the comments that members of ILCA left. Look at the comment section down below. It's clear to see why everybody said Masuda obviously had ILCA sabotage the remakes. They could have had potential, but he was so butthurt about the criticism of his mishandling of mainline Pokemon that he didn't want to improve. He just wanted to go out. Oh, Kane wants to say Resident Evil 4 was a fantastic remake along with RPG, of course. It's like our friend Stefan, Brent and I last July got together with Stefan and played through, what did we play up to, chapter 4, 5, or 6, or 7 of the remake?
7.
We played up to chapter 7. We spent the whole damn day playing up to the 7th chapter of the remake. Ashley has been improved.
I know.
Yeah, actually, speaking on that, remake of 4 is definitely good. Remake of 2 is good. Remake of 3, Wars of Desire, but then again, it feels more like it's a DLC than an actual, remake.
Ouch. Yeah. As for upcoming remakes, I'm just going to come out and say I have high hopes for Thousand Year Door. I mean, granted, we need a release date so the physical crowd can get their pre-orders in at the game stores. Rather than, I mean, they fucking shadow dropped the Princess Peach demo today. If I hadn't been so busy with a variety of stuff, I was doing some binge watching, catching up on some TV. I was dealing with some personal issues. I was going to the grocery store to pick up grilled cheese supplies to make my grandma's famous grilled cheese, try and experiment with my panini press, which is just one of those indoor grills. The earliest I could try the demo would be tomorrow anyway. I mean, I'll still give it a try just because it is on my list, but, it's like, they cannot be just shadow dropping and just releasing Thousand Year Door Remake, They have to tell us at least a month prior this is when the game's coming out. Like, if I put down $5 on Paper Mario Thousand Year Door Remake to reserve it in April, and then I don't hear anything in June in the Direct, and they call me up in July, hey, you got to come in and pay off your game. I would have paid it off, but I didn't know when it was due, when the payments were due, because I didn't know when it was. But I do have high hopes for Thousand Year Door Remake, Like, when I did the React video when it was announced, I was like, oh shit, I recognize that storybook. They're remaking Paper Mario 64. And then I saw the Roar Report stuff. I was like, nope. Wait, it's Thousand Year Door. It's like, Risa Tabata does not want the future of Paper Mario to be the classic first 2 games. She literally gave the rudest possible explanation to Game Explain when they said, we're wondering if Paper Mario will ever go back to its RPG roots. I don't care how a YouTuber dictates their script. Her saying, you want an RPG, go play Mario and Luigi, how does that not come off as rude?
Yeah.
And they asked in a polite way. And she snapped back with a nasty retort. So the fact that they're even giving us this remake, somebody at Nintendo really wanted to make the Paper Mario crowd happy after 3 disastrous games. Yeah. So I have high hopes that this is going to be Super Mario RPG tier level quality. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm hoping to.
Yeah.
As far as what remakes I've enjoyed, I'd say, I mean, there's just been a lot. I mean, but I can't think of any just right at the moment. I mean, I enjoyed.
He's looking back to see his game collection, and he still can't think of any.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I probably don't have a lot of remakes, but the ones that I do, I did enjoy. I just, for some reason, they're escaping my mind right now.
I can see my Switch games on the shelf. I just can't read them from this vantage point. And I'm trying not to make it a weekly habit of let's go to the shelf. Yeah. I mean, Epic Mickey Rebrushed. That is another remake I have high hopes for. I mean, yeah, we went over that last time, but still, it bears repeating and to talk about remakes. You know, I'm not sure if it's been graphically enhanced or not. It might just be as close to the original as possible, but with like the removal of motion-based controls in general. But I played the original on the Wii, top tier game. I think it's a must-have for any Switch owners and any Disney fans.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a laundry list of available strategy guides on like Amazon and eBay. They go lower than you'd expect an older era strategy guide to go for. So, come April, when I go to pay off the remaining 55 plus tax I owe on my reservation for the game, because I did the $5 reservation when I was putting down for Showtime in full. First thing I'm going to do in preparation for Epic Mickey so that I'm not actually having to log into my phone and check shit online and make sure I'm not overdoing it with the paint thinner to get the bad ending. First thing I'm doing is bagging one of the lower priced strategy guides, and I am prepping to go back to the wasteland.
Sounds great.
Yep. Anyway, our last topic for the night will probably be the meatiest because there is so much we can share here. That local multiplayer memories. In other words, your favorite memories of local multiplayer with your friends, relatives, or your sworn enemies.
Well, one thing was, of course, Street Fighter with my best friend at one time. Just we would casually play and learn the game better. And
So nothing new in terms of gameplay. Way too bare bones. Yeah, just a direct carbon copy can sometimes be a sign that you want a little more. So I can sympathize, but yeah. As you were saying, Street Fighter, best friend.
Yeah. It was just so much fun to learn the moves. Yeah, it was just so much fun to learn the moves when we didn't really. All we had were strategy guides to go on, and we were creating our own combos and everything, and it was just, didn't have that like you do nowadays when you can look up a combo and stuff like on the internet and everything. And
also, really quick, Kane says environment, scope, and exploration, but with a shiny coat of paint. Essentially, it was remade to look better and nothing else. That's a big old ouch. Okay, we're going to finish this story if it's the next thing we do. Gizmo's looking at me like, what are you doing? Shaking around like a madman. Go on, man.
And then I'd say the next big game that had a lot of memories was Mega Bomberman.
Yeah.
Like I played that with all my friends and 2-player mode, but we all just took turns, and it was kind of like a tournament sometimes, and it was just so much fun because you never knew how it was going to end up because Bomberman is so unpredictable.
Unless you're going up against the CPU. Spoiler alert, they always cheat. One of my favorite multiplayer memories actually is one of my personal favorites actually comes from 2019. Well, actually, two of my favorites. Back when the channel was still in its experimental stages, the old channel, and we were just playing around with like phone videos and shit. The night that we played Super Smash Brothers Ultimate with just the bombs,
Mhm.
It's like we didn't even carry that video up to the old channel and from the archives, but we could very easily do like a new version of playing it with a group of people on the couch. But it's like Matt has a bomb and that I wanted to pick up, so I'm just like, give it to me. No, give it to me. No, let me have it. He threw the bomb at me and launched me off the stage.
Yep.
My other favorite was, remember when we were playing the Shovel Knight Smash type thing in Treasure Trove?
Yeah.
And I wasn't paying attention at all. I was on my phone. I was like, I'm losing. I'm gonna get my ass kicked. I'm just gonna fuck around, you know?
Mhm.
And who won? Move over Luigi, because there's a new character who wins by doing absolutely nothing, and his name is fucking Plague Knight. And what people couldn't see because we didn't have the capture card and webcam feed, but in that old video, if people remember it, if it's even on from the archives on this channel, when I screamed Plague Knight wins by doing absolutely nothing, this is what actually happened that couldn't be seen due to the phone being aimed strictly at the TV. Plague Knight wins by doing absolutely nothing. Fuck you, Luigi.
Mhm.
Oh, one of the best aspects of multiplayer gaming with friends and person to ever happen.
Mhm.
I need to come up with a few other favorite local multiplayer memories, so we'll wait for Brent for a minute.
Yeah, let's see. Earliest ones I have were growing up with me and my brother. We do a lot of multiplayer. Usually, the biggest ones we did was Smash Bros, the original, Star
Mhm.
Fox 64, GoldenEye, big one,
Mhm.
and before he moved, Halo.
Mhm.
Yeah, after that, well,
Yeah,
there was
Golden
definitely,
was.
well, after that, there was a lot of, while I was at, let's see, there were a lot of times with me and my friends from high school playing, let's see, biggest ones I remember with my friends are Melee and Mario Bros, Mario Party 4, and Time Splitters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I had like a PS2 copy of Time Splitters, but never actually got around to finding a discount priced PS2 to play it with.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, really, really good memory. So who here is familiar with Family Guy?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little bit familiar with it.
Who here
Yep.
knows Giddy Up Brian?
Not really.
It's basically a scene where Stewie jumps on his back, Giddy Up Brian, and Brian just kind of like throws him onto the sidewalk.
Mhm.
Okay, so when I was in college, me and my friends who had a game night together were going to Target. I believe it was Target. We were going to one of the midnight launches that, for Brawl. It was doing tournaments. And we spent the whole damn day preparing by playing Melee and getting some practice in.
Mhm.
Real life guy in my friend's apartment named Brian was playing as Yoshi. Nick was playing as Mario. He literally just jumps onto Yoshi because apparently in Melee Mario can mount Yoshi somehow. He's just like, giddy up, Brian. Brian moved Yoshi to the very edge of the stage and bucked Nick so far off of his back that Mario could not make any comeback and lost one of his stocks.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, all-time favorite. Me and his roommate Greg. When we play, this only would ever happen if we were playing strictly as Boo and Koopa Kid. We were undefeated in Mario Party 6 two-player mode, or 2 versus 2 mode.
Hmm.
And Nick was significantly better at video games than both of us, and we were still able to kick his ass when it was him teamed up with a CPU or him teamed up with another person, only if we used those two specific characters. We tried swapping up the character dynamic once and we lost. Somehow, playing as pure evil, the teaming of Boo and Koopa Kid was our good luck charm.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. It got to the point where that was like the only Mario Party game we played, even though we had access to 4 through 8. Mostly because it's look, 8's good. The only real issue is like the controls and some of the mini games leave something to be desired. Out of the GameCube, Wii era, and out of the final stages of the Hudson Soft era, if you exclude DS, because we don't talk about the abomination that was Mario Party Advance ever. In fact, I should put myself in timeout after this for even mentioning it. But 6, it's the best. 4 and 5 are okay. 7 is fun, but 6 was where it was at. I think it was peak Mario Party, as most people do. The downhill spiral didn't start until Konami dissolved Hudson Soft. Got any other good multiplayer memories, Matt?
I'd say like just a lot of GoldenEye, like Brent does. So just like one time we all had remote mines and stuff, and we would just plant those everywhere and just like go like, oh, I'm over here, and go like, oh, you think you can get through this mines, and just blow each other up. And it was hilarious.
Yep. Oh, speaking of another good one that comes to mind. Just rack my brain a second. Oh, oh God, yes, I remember our Guilty Gear tourney. I had done such a good job of kicking your ass in the PlayStation 2 version that when it came down to the Wii version, I was shit with the controls, and I had already bragged that I had gotten pretty good at using Testament. And I ended up getting made fun of when the controls did not want to work for me. I don't know why, but the PlayStation 2 controls I got the hang of, and the Wii controls, I was not a happy camper with the fact that I had pretty much put my foot in my mouth and was being mocked for it.
That can happen.
But yeah, it's like the whole reason that the whole Bully Daisy joke came into play, the old video that we tried to remake but ended up taking down because we hadn't figured out what the audio settings for at the time. I could bring back the old phone video if we could figure out how to edit the upside down portion, but Mario Party Bully Daisy Edition actually started because we were just sitting around doing our own thing, playing Mario Party together, and somehow the computer was playing so poorly that the jokes just started writing themselves. And we were like, we've got to film this shit. And what happened when we filmed it? The CPU got good.
Yep.
It's like it knew. It's like it knew we wanted to immortalize a CPU Daisy playing Mario Party so poorly that when we got the phone camera rolling, the computer was suddenly like, yeah, fuck you. Yeah, the Guilty Gear tourney was back in my college days as well. And I long for the simpler times of my college days. Give me a mix of the simplicity of my college days with all the positives and worth it moments of my present day life, you know? Because like they say when you're an adult, life gets hard, right?
Yeah.
Things started out simple for me. It was as I got older and more into I'm on the way to middle age, and there are times where if I could go back and relive the days of when I was in college just for a break from reality, I would. But the Guilty Gear tourney is definitely something I would redo if I could.
Yep.
Yeah. And seriously, this guy right here, Dizzy was his best character, and I had never played the game before.
Mhm.
And I curb stomped him in the PS2 version.
Yep.
It's funny. Even back then, I couldn't beat Eno.
Hmm.
I just watched the ending of Guilty Gear Accent Core simply by seeing people who are actually capable of beating that boss.
Hmm.
If I can ever figure out how to dodge the attacks and actually beat that boss on the easiest difficulty at the minimum, I need a Sherpa.
Yep.
All right, any more memories, or are we going to be wrapping it up for the night?
I've got no others.
I was a little bit preoccupied making my tea and getting prepped for the night, so I didn't get to make any. I didn't get to do any backstage discussions about the upcoming episodes. So I was going to end tonight on a cliffhanger, starting by saying something, ending the stream, and then moving along. But since I've got to talk with them about next week anyway, we'll just give our usual sign off. So until next time, bye.
Bye.
Bye.